Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah, you can start whenever.
Okay. Hello, good night.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How's it going?
Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Nikken. I'm student in Sultan Agung Islamic University in Indonesia. My study program is English Literature, and I'm here to interview you today about culture in UK. I interviewed you because there was an exam for the British Society and Literature course to interview native people there about culture. And apart from that, I'm also interested and I want to add insight into culture or life there. Okay, before we start, please introduce yourself first.
Hello, so my name is Thomas or Tom. I'm 25 and I'm a healthcare scientist from Wales. I used to be an English teacher, um, and I used to live in Singapore, working and teaching there for quite a time. And then I came back to Wales and the UK and changed my career to work as a scientist with the public health system.
Okay, hello Tom, nice to meet you.
Hello.
Okay, what is your occupation?
So yeah, I work in the public healthcare as a healthcare scientist and audiologist. So I help people with hearing loss, with ear problems and balance problems.
Hmm.
Um, s-
How long have you
uh,
been working on it?
Not too long. So as I said, I was a teacher for quite a long time, and then I did a master's in healthcare, and I was looking for work. Um, and I think I've been working in healthcare for about 5 months now, so not too long.
Okay. I want to ask you about life in Wales. In the first question,
Sure.
talk about
Yeah,
culture. Mhm.
sure.
What culture do you know in UK and what culture is most famous there?
Um, so British people are famous for music. So music is
Hmm.
quite a long history in UK, and things like sports, so football, quite a lot of British people, I think, like football. Um, and food, not so much. So the food is quite famous for being bad. I know lots of people who come to the UK and say that the food isn't fantastic, which is probably true. Um, and like countryside, so we have lots of interesting countryside here, lots of green space to go outside and explore. Um, and what else? Tradition. So because the UK is quite an old place, so thousands of years of history and culture. Lots of things to see and do when you visit. So castles, palaces, churches, things like that. They're very important to visit, uh, and I think they form an important part of culture in the UK.
Wow, music. Are there open music and folk performance there?
Performance, like theatre and things like that, or
Hmm. Do you like music?
yeah, I quite like music. Yeah, um, I'm in a band, like a rock band, but I don't do it so much. But yeah, no, I really like music. Music is very important part of my life, I think.
Yes, me too. I like music.
Mm, that's good.
Okay. What about literature? Are there still many writers who create literary work? If still, who is the famous writer or playwright there?
That's a very good question. So in the UK, I guess the most famous writers that come to my head are people like Shakespeare, who was a very famous. Well, he changed the game in English literature. So I think most people study Shakespeare at school, and people who are interested in English literature probably have an understanding of William Shakespeare. And then modern writers, people like J.K. Rowling. So she wrote Harry Potter.
Mm,
In Wales, we have poets and playwrights like Dolan Thomas. So he was a very famous poet. from a city called Swansea, and his poetry is very mundane, very kind of mellow
Mm.
and a bit sad. But yeah, that's my understanding of literature in the UK.
So until now, poet is still developing there, right?
What was that? Sorry, can you repeat that?
So until now, poetry is still developing there, right? Mm,
Yes,
mm.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Next, then what about art? What art do you like and who is your favorite artist?
Uh, I mean, art in England is and the UK is quite important, I think. So obviously, they had things like medieval arts, which um, spawned from maybe the Renaissance period, the Baroque period. I like simple art, maybe pictures of flowers or people. My favorite artist would be someone like Vincent van Gogh, who was a Dutch artist, and he lived maybe 200 years ago in the Netherlands, and he his art was very famous at the time, and it continues to be an important part of contemporary painting, I think.
Oh, that's good. Who are the famous artists there, such as music, sculpture, or painting?
um, so some famous bands that come to mind would be maybe Queen. So they're a very famous British band. I think they formed in the 1970s. Other people like, gosh, it's so hard. I'm just trying to think of British bands. Uh, or Adele, people like her. So Adele is a British singer, and maybe Lewis Capaldi, Harry Styles, people like that. So I think people like them these days. So they're more modern singers, and I think they've helped put the UK on the map and represent their countries well.
Mm. Are there frequent art exhibitions? If yes, do you visit often? And usually, where the exhibition is held?
So in my country, not so much because I live in a very rural place, lots of sheep and stuff, and just a small village. But in the cities, yeah, they have lots of art galleries. So when I was a student in Manchester, there was a big museum, big art gallery, and it was free to the public, open, I think, 7 days a week. I used to go there a lot to see the exhibitions and see different things that people had made, and it was very interesting. And it made me very understanding of art and culture and things like that.
Is it still crowded with visitor?
Yeah, so it depends on the season. So in the winter when it's very cold, usually you don't get many people, but in the summer, the spring when it's a bit warmer, then yeah, it's usually very busy.
Hmm. How about the society there, such as about people activities, including old and young generation behavior, daily activities, leisure time, also do and don'ts.
So I live in a very rural part of Wales, so lots of farming. Young people, they don't really stay here much. They tend to go to the cities where it's more busy, where there's more things to do. In the cities, lots of students there too. So people go to maybe drinking, go to clubs, go to museums, go to cinemas, and kind of just find ways to keep active, or go to concerts, I think. So just find ways to have fun. Do's and don'ts. So I think the most important thing about the UK is manners, etiquette. So say your pleases and thank yous, say sorry, don't push in the queue, apologize if you push someone. So basic things like that. Just generally be a nice person and try not to offend people. I think that's important. Uh, don'ts as well. So don't confuse the countries in the UK. So I'm Welsh. I wouldn't be called English. And if someone said I was from England, maybe I'd be a little offended. But that's less important, I guess, for now. Um, and then do just try and see places outside the cities because the cities don't, as much as they are good, sometimes you have to see the countryside, the rural places to fully understand the culture of the country, I think.
Mm, okay. What about the farming culture? Are there still many farmers?
Yes, lots.
Hmm.
So most of my area is farmer land.
What about planes? Are there also many planes for sale?
Are there also what? Sorry, can you repeat that?
Uh, what plane are mostly grown in the village there?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Mhm.
So corn, um, vegetables like cabbage, carrots, potatoes, lots of different vegetables really. But yeah, a lot of things like corn, wheat, um, different seeds like apples or um,
Mm.
things like that. So lots of things that you'd find in the supermarket are grown in places around my area.
Mm. Okay. How with tours? What tourist attraction are most visited by tourists from other countries?
So in my local area, there's lots of mountains. Um, and you get many tourists from other countries coming to this area because they very beautiful views and um, it's just very nice to go outside. And in these mountains, they also have lots of tourist attractions too, so caves and kind of historic things and castles. So we have lots of castles here in Wales. Uh, and yeah, just things to see that are outside. I think it attracts many tourists to my local area in the mountains.
Okay, thank you for sharing. How about history? What do you know about Monaco history?
Um, so to be honest, my knowledge of monarch history is not so good. I understand that it's very long and complicated, and maybe 1,000 years old, but there's lots of kings and queens
Mm,
through history in the UK and different people occupying different countries. But yeah, no, I think it's a very important part of British and Irish culture, understanding who was in charge and kind of why the UK is called a kingdom rather than a republic or a different type of country.
okay. Next, how about education? What do you know about education in Wales? Maybe student standard education?
So Wales is the standard of education in Wales is not so good. It's one of the poorest in Europe. Um, so it needs to change, I think, for the better, just because our standard there's lots of things that we need to improve compared to other countries in Europe, like England and Scotland. But we are trying our best to improve and help young people improve their education and continue studying to a higher level so that they can get qualifications and better jobs, I think.
Okay. No, I know. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for explaining many things about the culture and life there. So for
You're very
asking for
welcome.
your time. Thank you for helping me and see you.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Okay.